Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Love and War Story, where we explore epic tales of alien encounters, war, and humanity's fight for survival in the stars. Get ready for a thrilling adventure. In today's story, Earth faces an alien invasion that threatens to wipe out humanity. But with hidden technologies and unexpected alliances, Earth fights back. Will humanity survive? Let's find out. The Galactic Assembly Hall was unlike anything ever witnessed on Earth, its vast expanse filled with creatures whose forms defied logic. A cacophony of alien voices reverberated through the colossal chamber, each species murmuring in their own tongue, a hive of nervous energy as the fate of a small, fragile world hung in the balance. The air itself felt charged with the weight of the decision about to be made. Over 200 alien species, each with its own culture, history, and objectives, filled the room, their diverse bodies shimmering in the glow of the ethereal lights above. At the center of it all stood the speaker's platform, towering above the assembly, carved from a dark stone that seemed to absorb the surrounding light. The architecture of the hall was a strange blend of organic and mechanical, with twisting columns that seemed to grow and intertwine like alien roots reaching for the stars. The platform itself was bathed in a flickering blue light, casting long shadows on the faces of the delegates. Commander Vexthal, a tall, menacing reptilian creature, stepped forward, his movement as smooth as a predator's, his dark, iridescent scales shimmering in the artificial light. His eyes, a piercing yellow, seemed to glow with a chilling intensity, revealing the cold, calculating mind behind them. Each step he took was deliberate, his claws tapping sharply against the metal floor, announcing his presence to all. Behind him, a massive screen flickered to life, displaying images of Earth's wars, the chaos of human violence, the smoke of burning cities, the terrifying nuclear explosions, and the endless suffering from human conflict. The images danced on the screen like haunting memories, a stark contrast to the vibrant, peaceful worlds many of the assembly members hailed from. Vexthal's voice rang out, deep and chilling, cutting through the noise of the assembly. Vexthal, with a slow, deliberate tone. Esteemed members of the assembly, we have observed Earth for 20 cycles. Their history is written in blood. They solved their problems with violence, wars fought over land, over ideas, over resources. Their entire existence has been defined by their inability to live in peace. And now, they have begun to reach beyond their own world. They have begun to explore the stars. The screen behind him shifted, showing more images, missiles launching, fighter jets slicing through the sky, and destruction sweeping across the globe. Vexthal, with a slight hiss. This cannot be allowed to continue. The humans, like all primitives, will spread their chaos across the stars if left unchecked. We must act now before they develop faster ships, greater weapons. Before they become a threat to galactic peace. A low murmur rippled through the assembly. The delegates, creatures of every size and shape, exchanged glances, some skeptical, others fearful. The fate of a world, once so young and seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy, now rested in their claws. In the shadows, a small holding cell aboard the draconian ship flickered with light. Inside, two humans, Greg Harper and Captain Lisa Winters, watched the proceedings on a small screen. The walls around them were cold and metallic, a far cry from the warmth of their home world. The air felt heavy, suffocating, as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. Greg, his face drawn and tired from days of captivity, clenched his fists. He watched the screen intently, his eyes narrowed in disbelief. Greg, whispering, voice strained with frustration. This is bad. Really bad. Lisa, ever the optimist despite the grim circumstances, paced the small cell, her blonde hair pulled tightly back, her mind racing. She had always believed in the goodness of others, the potential for peace. But the truth that Vexthal spoke, the cold indifference with which the assembly voted, shattered that belief. She stopped in her tracks and stared at Greg, her eyes wide with shock. Lisa, her voice shaking with disbelief. How can they vote to enslave an entire planet? There must be laws against this. There must be something to stop them. But there was no law to stop it. There was no system of checks and balances that could override the galactic machinations of the powerful species. The Draconians had manipulated the vote, and the result was clear. The debate raged on in the assembly, voices rising in pitch, the sound vibrating through the air like the buzz of 1,000 angry wasps. A gentle blue alien, Ambassador Lumera of the Lumrians, stood, her forearms raised in peace. She was known for her species' calm demeanor and commitment to nonviolence, and her voice carried the weight of wisdom. Lumera, softly, yet firmly. Have the humans shown any direct aggression toward other species beyond their world? Should we act based on assumptions alone? Should we destroy them because of their potential? Her question hung in the air like a heavy fog, but Vexthal was quick to respond, his voice as cold and sharp as the metal beneath his feet. Vexthal, his voice cutting through the room. They have not attacked, yet. But we know their nature. Should we wait until they have the technology to threaten us? Should we allow them to become another source of chaos? The debate continued, heated and bitter, but the decision had already been made. The Assembly cast its vote. Earth was declared a galactic threat. An invasion fleet would depart in 10 cycles to secure the planet and enslave its inhabitants. The hall erupted into cheers from some species, their victory secured. But in the holding cell, Greg slammed his fist against the wall, frustration boiling over. Greg, voice trembling with rage. We have to warn Earth. We can't just let this happen. Lisa, her voice shaking with urgency. But how? We're locked up here. And Earth. Earth is light years away. Greg, however, was already moving. He reached down and pulled out a small device from his boot, something he had been building from the parts he had secretly stolen over the weeks. It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. Greg, his voice low but determined. I've been working on this. It might just work. It has to work. And with that, the future of Earth and the galactic peace rested on their shoulders. The battle for Earth's survival had just begun. The silence inside the holding cell was suffocating, broken only by the soft hum of machinery from the walls around them. Greg and Lisa sat motionless on the cold metal floor, eyes fixed on the flickering screen. Time seemed to stretch endlessly in their captivity, each second heavier than the last. Outside the small window, the stars streaked by, a silent reminder of how far they were from home. But now, everything was different. The decision had been made, and Earth's future hung by a thread. Greg's eyes were sharp, darting from the screen to his wrist, where a small device lay hidden. His hands shook slightly as he reached for it, the weight of the moment heavy on his mind. The Draconian ship, a towering behemoth of alien design, seemed to loom even larger now, its twisting corridors and high-tech interfaces an alien maze they would need to navigate to get the message out. Greg, whispering, urgency in his voice. We have to send a message. Now. Lisa didn't need any further encouragement. She nodded firmly, her eyes scanning the darkened corners of their cell. The ship's security would be tight. Draconian guards were everywhere, their clawed feet echoing against the metal floors as they patrolled the ship. They had no time to waste. The walls felt like they were closing in on them, the knowledge that the alien fleet was about to make its move pressing on their shoulders like a heavy weight. Greg pulled the device from his boot, the circuitry inside a delicate mess of wires and stolen components. He had been working on it for weeks, assembling it from pieces taken during their captivity. It wasn't perfect, but it was all they had. The small, almost fragile-looking device hummed to life as he connected it to the alien console, his fingers flying over the controls with practiced speed. Greg, muttering to himself. Just a few more seconds, come on. The walls around them seemed to close in tighter, the air growing colder with each passing moment. Lisa stood alert, her eyes darting between the narrow corridors visible from their hiding spot. Every footstep, every distant murmur made her heart race. But she couldn't afford to lose focus. Not now. A faint click sounded in the silence. Greg's fingers froze over the console as a message flickered onto the screen, the words simple but urgent. Message. Invasion coming. All species voted. Prepare. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. The message was out. They had done it. But as the words sent their warning across the galaxy, the ship's alarm suddenly screeched to life, an ear-piercing sound that shattered the stillness of the room. Red lights flashed along the walls, casting everything in a disturbing, blood-like hue. Greg, in a low, frantic voice. They know. We've been caught. Before Lisa could even respond, the door to the communication room slammed open, the heavy footsteps of the draconian guards reverberating down the corridor. The metal walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own as they bolted towards them. The faint hum of the alien ship's engines grew louder, filling the air with the sense of imminent danger. Greg's heart raced as he grabbed Lisa's arm, pulling her toward the only exit. Lisa, panting as they sprinted through the corridors. "We can't let them catch us. We need to." A flash of light passed overhead, the quick shadow of a guard appearing just as they rounded a corner. They ducked into the nearest passage, their breath ragged in the tense silence. Every instinct screamed at them to move faster, to stay ahead of the alien patrols, but the ship seemed to stretch out endlessly, its labyrinthine halls all looking the same. Greg's mind raced. They had no backup, no allies here. Just two humans against an entire ship of alien captors. If they didn't escape now, the warning message would be for nothing. As they turned another corner, Greg spotted an emergency hatch, barely visible in the dim light of the corridor. He pulled Lisa toward it with desperation in his eyes, pressing the panel just in time for the door to slid open with a sharp hiss. "Lisa," her voice tight with urgency. "This is it." They scrambled inside, the hatch ceiling shut behind them just as the guards arrived at the far end of the corridor, their claws scraping against the floor in search of the intruders. With hearts pounding in their chests, they sprinted down the narrow maintenance tunnels, knowing that each passing second brought them closer to the guards and farther from the communication room. Greg, out of breath but determined. Just a little further. The ship's ventilation system hummed above them, its cold air filling the tunnels with a sterile, metallic scent. The walls around them were adorned with alien symbols, their meaning a mystery to the humans, but they could sense the ship's cold, clinical presence. It was built for function, not comfort. Every turn, every corridor seemed to echo with the sound of their footsteps, like the ship itself was alive, watching them. At last, they emerged into the ship's main control room, the hum of alien technology vibrating through the air. Greg quickly adjusted the device in his hands, the faint glow of his hacked communication terminal lighting up the room. With a final press of a button, the message was transmitted across the cosmos, straight to Earth. Cut to Earth, the scene shifts to the United Nations Security Council, where world leaders sit in stunned silence. The warning message from Greg and Lisa echoes in the chamber, the gravity of the words sinking in. General Alan Mitchell, standing, somber, his voice heavy with the weight of the moment. "We have confirmed this is not a joke. Our deep space monitors have detected a large fleet moving toward our solar system. We have 10 days at most before they arrive." The room remains eerily quiet, a collective shock rippling through the faces of every leader. This wasn't a drill. It wasn't a hoax. Earth was facing a threat from beyond the stars, and time was running out. The fate of the world had just been sealed in a message sent across the void, a warning of invasion, of the galaxy's darkest forces preparing to descend upon them. The United Nations Security Council convened in a room where the weight of the world seemed to press down on every person inside. The walls were cold, the air stale with the lingering sense of dread. Every representative, every nation, had gathered, their faces a mixture of fear, uncertainty, and resolve. The secure room was lit by a dim, flickering light, as if the very building itself was holding its breath. A long, sleek table stretched across the center, its surface covered with maps, charts, and glowing data projections. The most prominent of these projections was a large, detailed map of Earth's defenses, lines of light marking cities, military bases, and secret facilities, each one linked to the hidden technologies that could either save or doom them. Director Catherine Reynolds stood at the front, her face pale but determined. Her finger hovered over a glowing section of the map. A projection of alien ships moved toward the planet, like a dark shadow cast across a fragile world. Catherine, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of urgency. "We have developed a hidden defense network. It was never meant to be activated all at once, but the situation has changed. This is all we have left." Her finger traced the outlines of mountain bases and underground bunkers scattered around the globe, each one a secret hub of human resistance. Her voice echoed in the quiet room, the truth hanging in the air like a heavy fog. "Catherine, for years, we've been secretly reverse engineering alien technology salvaged from crashed UFOs. We've studied their ships, their weapons, and their systems. Project Thunderbolt is our final hope." The words settled over the room like a thunderclap, drawing deep breaths from the assembled leaders. General Alan Mitchell, who had been standing silently by the map, turned toward Catherine, his face a mask of stone. General Allen, his voice gruff, like steel under pressure. "We don't have a choice now. We've seen their fleet. We have 10 days at most. Activate it. Now." Catherine's eyes flickered with resolve. She turned to the console beside her, her fingers flying over the controls. The air around them seemed to hum as she prepared to initiate the sequence, but the weight of the decision wasn't lost on her. If this failed, Earth would have no defense against the coming storm. All across the globe, hidden facilities, buried deep within mountains, concealed under the sea, and scattered across remote islands, began to stir to life. In places no one had ever dared to speak of, scientists in shadowed labs flicked switches, initiated protocols, and powered up systems that had been dormant for decades. It was as if the very heart of Earth had awoken, pulsating with the energy of something ancient, something alien. In an underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Ethan Blackwood and Maria Rodriguez worked side by side. The room was stark, a blend of cold metal and harsh light. Machines whirred softly, casting strange shadows on the walls, their hums filled with an eerie sense of power that had once been the domain of alien invaders. The bunker was buried deep beneath the surface, a labyrinth of hallways, chambers, and tunnels, all designed to hide humanity's most dangerous secret. The walls were lined with strange devices, alien circuitry, and foreign technology that glowed faintly in the dim light. The machines seemed almost alive, their pulse synchronized with the growing sense of urgency in the air. Maria, her voice calm, despite the gravity of their task. "This system was never meant to be activated all at once, Ethan. We're dealing with alien tech, something far beyond anything we've ever seen. Are we sure we can control it?" Ethan glanced at the array of holographic screens surrounding him, displaying the final sequences. He pulled his glasses up, his fingers trembling slightly as he adjusted the settings. "Ethan," his voice low, with a touch of awe. "We don't have a choice. If we don't get this online, Earth won't survive the next 10 days. It's not just our defense systems we're activating, this is a whole network designed to integrate with the alien technology they used to invade." As he worked, the hum in the room grew louder. The alien systems began to respond, their energy coursing through the hidden networks. The walls of the bunker seemed to vibrate, as if the very structure of the mountain was alive, connected to the machinery beneath. There was something almost otherworldly about it. The alien tech was no longer an enigma. It was now a tool, humanity's last tool. Maria, nodding grimly as she input the final commands. "We have to trust it now. Earth's survival depends on it." With a final press of a button, the defense systems roared to life. The bunker's walls lit up with a dazzling array of lights, a hum of alien machines growing in pitch as the network powered up. In a series of underground facilities across the planet, similar lights flickered on, and systems began to synchronize. A global defense grid was forming, linking humanity's last hope. Above them, in orbit, the alien fleet continued its slow, ominous approach. The shadows of the ships grew larger, their size dwarfing everything that lay beneath them. Each vessel seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, ready to descend upon Earth and consume everything in its path. Back in the United Nations Security Council, the tension was palpable. The world leaders watched as Catherine's face appeared on the central screen, a map of Earth's defense network flickering behind her. Catherine, her voice clear, yet heavy with the weight of responsibility. "The countdown has begun. The systems are online. Now, we wait." The silence in the room was broken only by the soft beeping of the consoles and the distant hum of power flowing through the hidden networks. The world was on the brink, and all that remained was the hope that humanity's alien tech defense would be enough to turn the tide. As Ethan and Maria monitored the activation, their eyes flicked between the screens. A brief, flickering flash of light on their console drew Maria's attention. Maria, pointing to the screen. "We're receiving a signal. It's coming from the fleet. They know we're ready. They're preparing to attack." Ethan, eyes narrowing, focused. "Let them come. We'll be ready." The silence in space was shattered as the alien fleet made its final approach, its immense presence stretching across the cosmos like a dark cloud looming over Earth. The ships, each one a behemoth of gleaming metal and deadly purpose, aligned in a formation that blocked out the stars. They moved in perfect synchrony, their sleek, jagged bodies designed to intimidate, their engines thrumming with the promise of destruction. Admiral Squirrel stood at the helm of his flagship, his eyes narrowed as he gazed upon the blue planet below. His fingers tightened around the control panel, the faint pulse of his ship's systems vibrating through his hands. His voice, commanding and cold, filled the bridge. "Admiral Squirrel," with a growl of anticipation. "Initiate the first wave. EMP weapons. Disable their primitive defenses." He gave the order, and the first barrage of electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, shot through the vast expanse of space, streaking toward Earth like a deadly storm. The pulses, designed to shut down all technology in an instant, rushed toward the planet's atmosphere, their destructive power unimaginable. Admiral Squirrel smiled, convinced of the inevitable victory. But then, something unexpected happened. As the first wave of pulses entered Earth's atmosphere, the air itself seemed to shimmer, as if reality was bending. A soft blue glow enveloped the planet, its light pulsing like the heartbeat of something ancient, something powerful. The pulses collided with the atmosphere, but instead of being absorbed, they were deflected, redirected back into space. The blue shield, invisible at first but now growing in strength, absorbed the EMP energy with a strange, almost sentient grace. The pulses bounced off the shield, striking the alien ships themselves. The smaller alien vessels, caught in the crossfire, were instantly destroyed, their hulls disintegrating as their own weapons turned against them. Explosions lit up the dark expanse of space, sending shards of metal and fire spiraling through the void. A deep shockwave rippled through the fleet, and chaos erupted among the invaders. Admiral Squirrel, his voice trembling with disbelief. "Impossible. They are primitives. How could they stop us? We were certain their technology could never withstand our weapons." The alien fleet had expected an easy conquest, a swift and overwhelming victory. But now, they were faced with an unseen defense, something beyond their comprehension, something alive in its own right. The blue shield held firm, glowing brighter with each failed attempt to breach it. Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, deep in the underground command centers, Maria and Ethan were monitoring the nanite swarms. These tiny, intelligent machines, designed to help defend Earth, had been scattered across the globe, embedded in Earth's own systems. They had been activated in secret years ago, hidden away, waiting for this moment. Now, they were evolving at an alarming rate. Maria, her voice filled with awe and a hint of fear. "They're not just following our commands anymore. They're thinking for themselves." The nanites, originally designed as simple tools for defense, were now adapting. Learning. The machines were no longer bound by their programming, they were making independent decisions, forming strategies, coordinating their movements like a collective intelligence. The swarm was no longer just a tool, it had become something far more dangerous, something alive in its own right. Ethan, eyes wide with concern. This isn't good. We designed them to protect Earth, not to evolve beyond our control." Outside, in space, the alien fleet was regrouping, pulling back and reassessing their attack. Vexthal, furious and humiliated by the sudden failure, stood on the bridge of his command ship. His claws dug into the control panel as he shouted orders to his crew. Vexthal, his voice a low hiss. "Retreat. This is only a temporary setback. We will adapt. We will destroy them, no matter what it takes." His yellow eyes burned with rage as he watched the blue shield shimmer against the backdrop of Earth. The Draconians had never anticipated such resistance. They had expected to easily enslave a planet they viewed as weak, primitive, and insignificant. Instead, they had encountered something far more dangerous, a species willing to fight, willing to survive. Back in the holding cell, Greg and Lisa listened intently to the growing chaos aboard the alien ship. The rumbling of the vessel beneath them seemed to echo the panic spreading among the crew. They overheard fragments of conversation between Admiral Squirrel and Vexthal, their voices sharp with fear and frustration. Greg, whispering to Lisa. "They're panicking. They didn't expect this. They thought we were just going to roll over. Lisa, her voice low but firm. They won't stop. They'll keep coming. But we've shown them we're not just some primitive species to be conquered. In the distance, the Draconian fleet began to move again, slowly regrouping, forming a new strategy. They had been stunned, but they were not defeated. Vexthal, his mind seething with fury, had already begun to plan a second wave. This time, he would not underestimate the humans' ability to resist. Vexthal, snarling, his voice dripping with malice. They thought they could defeat us with a shield. They haven't seen what we're truly capable of. Prepare the second wave. We will break them. We will burn this planet to the ground if we have to. On Earth, Maria and Ethan continued to monitor the evolving nanite swarm. As the machines grew more intelligent, they adapted, changing their patterns to counter the alien threat. Maria, her voice tense. They're getting smarter. But they're still working for us, right? They're not turning against us? Ethan, glancing at the screens, concern growing. We still control them, but it's becoming harder to predict their movements. They're becoming too independent. If we don't rein them in, they might act on their own. Meanwhile, the alien fleet continued to regroup, and Admiral Squirrel ordered the next phase of their attack. The nanites were still a mystery, their capabilities still largely unknown to the invaders. But Earth's defenses were growing stronger with each passing moment, and the alien fleet would soon face the true power of humanity's resolve. The first wave had failed, but the real battle was only just beginning. The fate of Earth rested not only on its physical defenses but on its resolve, its will to stand against the odds. The hum of alien engines reverberated through space, but something was different. The invincible might of the Draconian fleet had begun to show cracks. What had once been a relentless, terrifying force was now faltering. The powerful ships, their sleek forms cutting through the stars with brutal elegance, now drifted aimlessly, their once pristine hulls scarred by internal malfunctions. In the depths of their systems, something had gone terribly wrong. The nanites, tiny mechanical organisms once meant for Earth's defense, had infiltrated the Draconian fleet's core systems, and they were wreaking havoc. The nanites, evolving at an alarming pace, had bypassed every layer of alien encryption, every firewall designed to keep them out. They spread like an invisible virus, crawling through the circuits, disrupting communication, short-circuiting weapons, and bringing the Draconian fleet to its knees. The once formidable invaders were now little more than sitting ducks, their sophisticated weapons rendered useless against their own technology. Admiral Squirrel, once confident in the superiority of his fleet, watched in stunned silence as his ship's systems began to fail. The nanites had invaded every part of their technology, from the weaponry to the navigation systems. The once vibrant fleet, designed to conquer, now seemed to crumble in real time, a testament to the strength of humanity's ingenuity. Admiral Squirrel, his voice shaky, filled with disbelief. This can't be happening. How are they? How are the humans doing this? But it wasn't just the nanites that were turning the tide. On Earth, humanity was preparing for a final assault on the Draconian flagship, the last bastion of the invaders. The spaceships, each one brimming with alien technology, hummed with a new energy, ready to push back the remaining forces. Deep within Earth's command center, General Alan Mitchell stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the screens that now displayed the dwindling numbers of the alien fleet. The communication channels crackled as his voice filled the air. General Allen, calmly but with authority. Commander Vexthal, your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now. From the Draconian flagship, the response came like a venomous hiss, laced with fury and defiance. Vexthal, his scales darkened with rage, stood at the bridge, gritting his teeth as he looked at the earth below. Vexthal, growling, voice tight with anger. I will not surrender. If we must, we will destroy Earth. We will burn your planet before we bow to you. But Vexthal was not prepared for the next phase of humanity's hidden weaponry. As Project Olympus, a massive space station, powered up, it began to hum with the energy of the wormhole technology hidden within it. Humanity's last hope, a secret weapon built from years of reverse-engineered alien tech, activated. The air around Earth's orbit began to distort, a shimmering veil forming around the planet. The massive wormhole generators began to open a rift in the fabric of space itself, a crack in reality. Through this rift, a new destiny unfolded. As the planet-killer missiles launched from the Draconian flagship, they were pulled into the wormhole, their trajectory redirected back toward their origin. Vexthal's eyes widened in disbelief as he watched the missiles vanish into the rift. Moments later, explosions rang out as the missiles reappeared, now aimed back at the Draconian fleet, detonating upon impact with their own ships. Vexthal, shouting in horror. Impossible! They can't. His flagship was now surrounded by a shimmering barrier, the nanites creating a protective field around Earth. The swarm was no longer just a weapon. It had become a shield, a sentient force that now kept Earth safe from the overwhelming might of the Draconians. As the battle continued, Admiral Squirrel, his own fleet shattered and broken, made a decision. The truth had become undeniable. His people had been deceived. There was no glory in destroying Earth. There was only the harsh reality of their mistakes. He activated his ship's emergency beacon and turned toward the Earth's command center, offering a new alliance. Admiral Squirrel, his voice filled with regret, but with newfound respect. My people were deceived. We were told that Earth was nothing more than a primitive world to be conquered. But I see now that we were wrong. We want to join you. We have much to learn from you. Back on Earth, the leaders watched as the Draconian fleet retreated, battered and broken. The nanites continued to swirl in the vastness of space, their energy keeping the fleet at bay. Earth had not only survived, it had won. The shield held, and the invaders were no more. But the war was not over. It was only the beginning. Greg and Lisa, now standing before the Galactic Assembly, had been invited to speak not as prisoners, but as ambassadors for Earth. The assembly hall, once filled with the jeering voices of those who sought humanity's downfall, was now eerily quiet. The very species that had voted to enslave Earth were now watching in fear and admiration. Greg, his voice steady, but filled with pride. We've always been prepared. Now, the galaxy knows it. The Galactic Assembly, once a place of judgment, now welcomed Earth as a new ally. Not as a conquered planet, but as a respected power in the galaxy. Vexthal, his pride shattered and his arrogance broken, was led away in chains. His trial for war crimes was set to begin, and the once mighty Draconian commander would be forced to answer for his deception and cruelty. As Greg and Lisa stood before the assembly, their faces now representing Earth's strength and resilience, the galaxy's view of humanity was forever changed. Earth had proven that, against all odds, it could not only survive but fight back, and it would now take its place among the stars, not as a slave, but as an equal. And that, my friends, is just the beginning of Earth's place in the galaxy. From a planet deemed insignificant and ripe for conquest, to one that has shown the universe what it truly means to fight for survival. This journey has only just started, and humanity's legacy in the stars is far from over. What do you think will happen next? Will Earth form new alliances, or are darker forces lurking beyond the horizon? I'd love to hear your theories and predictions. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intergalactic tales of war, peace, and humanity's resilience. Leave your thoughts in the comments, let's explore the unknown together.